The diner woke up slowly, like an old man stretching his bones. Neon lights buzzed softly above the windows, and the smell of burnt coffee mixed with bacon grease hung in the air. Frank Callahan sat in his usual corner booth, back straight, hands folded around a chipped white mug. He had been coming here since before the paint on the walls had faded to yellow. At 81, mornings were sacred. The newspaper, the coffee, the view of Main Street as shop owners unlocked doors and swept yesterday off the sidewalk. It reminded him that the world kept moving, even when his knees protested every step. Frank wore his veteran's cap out of habit, not pride. The war had taught him to keep his head down, not to advertise who he was. Still, the cap drew eyes sometimes, nods, quiet respect, the occasional awkward thank you. The bell over the door rang sharp. A man in a worn leather jacket strode in, boots heavy against the tile. He scanned the room like he owned it, jaw tight, eyes restless. When he spotted Frank's booth, his mouth curled. "That's my seat," the man said, sliding in without invitation. Frank lowered his paper. "I've been sitting here every morning for years," he replied calmly. "Plenty of other booths." The man leaned closer, breath sour. Didn't ask. He shoved the table just enough to slosh coffee over the rim. Then he knocked the mug aside. It shattered against the floor, porcelain exploding like a gunshot. Every conversation in the diner died instantly. Frank flinched, not from fear but from memory. Sudden noises still did that. Before anyone could speak, the man raised his hand and slapped Frank across the face. It wasn't brutal. It didn't need to be. The insult landed heavier than the sting. Frank's glasses slid crooked. His cap fell to the floor. A waitress gasped. Someone whispered, "Hey!" But no one stood up. Frank took a breath. Slowly, deliberately, he bent down and retrieved his cap. His hands trembled as he set it back on his head, but his voice stayed steady. "You shouldn't do that," he said quietly. The man laughed loud and sharp. "Or what, old-timer?" Frank didn't answer right away. He just looked around the diner, at the faces that wouldn't meet his eyes, at the floor that still held broken coffee and shame. Then the bell over the door rang again, and the air in the room changed. The bar had that worn-down, end-of-the-night feel, like it had given all the energy it had hours ago. The air smelled of grease, beer, and old wood soaked with memories. A cracked jukebox hummed classic rock just loud enough to drown out silence, but not loud enough to lift anyone's mood. The biker had been there too long. He took up more space than he paid for. Broad shoulders, thick arms, a leather vest stretched tight across his back. A faded skull patch sat crooked between his shoulder blades. Every laugh was too loud, every gesture a little too sharp. People nearby kept their eyes low, pretending not to notice him knocking elbows, swearing at the TV, snapping his fingers when he wanted another drink. Lena noticed. She always did. She'd learned how to read men like him early on, restless, simmering, looking for something to push against. She kept her voice level, her posture relaxed, like calm was a shield she wore to work. "Sir," she said, stopping beside his table, "I'm going to need to close you out." He squinted up at her, irritation crawling across his face. "Already?" "I just got this one." "You've had a few," she replied gently. "House rules." That's when he stood, too fast, chair legs screaming against the floor. A few heads turned. Someone muttered, "Here we go." Lena stepped back instinctively, trying to move past him, but his arm swung out, careless and heavy. A metal ring on his glove snagged her shirt. Rip. The sound was small, but it sliced clean through the noise of the bar. Everything stopped. The jukebox clicked to the next track, suddenly far too loud. A pool ball rolled off the table and dropped to the floor, untouched. Lena froze, eyes down, breath caught halfway in. She felt the cool air against her shoulder and instinctively reached up, fingers curling into the torn fabric. The biker blinked, annoyance flashing. "Hey, don't—" Then he saw it. The exposed skin wasn't bare in the way he expected. Dark ink stretched across her shoulder, sharp lines softened by age. Symbols, letters, purposeful. Not decoration, history. His face changed instantly. Color drained. His jaw tightened. The room stayed silent as the meaning hit him. That marking, he whispered. Lena lifted her eyes, and in that moment the whole bar understood something was about to surface. Something far heavier than a torn shirt.